it was announced that I would talk a bit about women in business. I would make it a little bit broader, just about women in business and in employment, or even more broader, and saying just getting a bigger role for women. First of all, I'd like to congratulate for organizing this festival again and inviting such an amazing number of outstanding women. When I look through the program, what will happen, what kind of discussions you have in the next few days, I think I can already now congratulate you for that. But why is all this important? It's not a chat over coffee. It's about exchange of information, exchange of experiences. It should result in motivating all women of this country, but in other countries as well, because this is not just a local issue, to engage for common action. So what are we talking about? We're talking about networking, and it's so important. We know that we have seen men networking for decades, for centuries. And what does it mean? It means better information flow. And this automatically means to have an advantage in many areas. What is crucial also is to have role models, women role models, who can motivate women to strive high in the wide range of careers, whether it's entrepreneurs, whether it's in politics, in the technical sector, it doesn't really matter. What needs to be signaled to any woman that she has potential. So it's not only about the number of women in the workforce, the number of women in employment. It's also about what kind of positions they have. Because we all know it's the higher positions where power lies. And mainly, there are two main areas for power. It's politics and it's economy. In politics, we know this is where decisions are taken, decisions, the framework decisions, which concern us all. And everybody is affected by these decisions. So it should also be women to take the decisions. In Austria, I can say I'm quite proud that at least when I talk from the top, that when it comes to the government, we have practically a parity, half-half, men and women in the government. And also in the parliament, we have about 40% of women. So we went a long way already. When it comes to women's participation in the economy and in private business, also in there, the situation in Austria has improved, but there's still quite a lot of room for improvement. Because in decision-making bodies, to a large extent, these positions still lie in male hands. But still, already 1/3 of all Austrian companies are run by women, mainly in the service sector. Only last year, of all the companies established last year, 45% were established by women. But, there's a but to it. Of the top 200, top meaning biggest companies, the proportion of women in the management is only 9%. It's a little bit better in the executive board, where it's 1/4. So, in order to improve the situation, the Austrian Parliament back in 2018 adopted a law saying that a minimum quota of 30% of women is required among the supervisory board members of companies with more than 1,000 employees or companies at the stock exchange. And we have seen a clear improvement since then. Why was it necessary? The discussion of increasing the share of women started many, many years before. but to no avail. So to count on voluntary increase didn't work. And we have seen it hasn't worked in many other areas. So what is the conclusion? We need quotas. Otherwise, it doesn't work. But also the current Austrian government has committed itself to promote women in general. And for doing so, it adopted a so-called gender mainstreaming strategy. And one of the priorities of this strategy is strengthening women in leadership positions, including, of course, business and economy. One aspect is to encourage women to start a business. An important support to achieve these goals is provided by the Austrian Chamber of Commerce, which created the initiative which is called Women in the Economy, alongside with a website called Woman Entrepreneur, which is intended to support and connect self-employed women in all kinds of career fields. So to provide experience, but also to provide the opportunity, again, for networking. But as I said before, it's not only about women in business. It's also, the goal is also to increase the share of women being employed, or in employment itself. Because the overall goal of this gender mainstreaming strategy is the gender mainstreaming strategy is to avoid disadvantages in general for women. So, for example, the tax system and public spending must be gender responsive. So we call it the gender budgeting, or the outcome orientation. So when you create the tax system, you have to have in mind what does this or that tax mean for women. So these are key aspects of this strategy. And by the way, talking about this tax system, this gender budgeting, we consider it so important that we thought it's not only important for Austria, but it's also important for other countries. So one of the projects our development agency is doing in the Western Balkans is financing a regional project, which we call the Regional Gender Watchdog Project. And it focuses exactly on that, on gender equality in tax systems in all 6 Western Balkan countries. And of course, Bosnia and Herzegovina is also included in that. Going back to this Austrian gender mainstreaming strategy, it is important, as I said before, to support women directly, to develop their full potential in all types of careers, especially in careers which are maybe not so typical for women, like in science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And we do see a rise of women in employment. So currently we are at about 72% of women in the work age who are actually employed. And why is employment as such important? What does it mean? It means independence. It means social security, and it means prevention of poverty in retirement, during retirement. And even there is a but. The but is that almost half, and this number is very high for Austria, almost half of all employed women are employed part-time. And part-time, of course, it has pros and cons. The pros is you have flexibility. The con is that when you're retired, you will see what the pension looks like. So the question is, can you really live on the pension when you have been employed part-time for a long period of your work life. So, but I want to finish maybe with one more important aspect. What is the basis for women starting a business and securing employment of high quality? It's good and practice-oriented education, as well as, of course, encouraging environment. And what do I mean by encouraging environment? It starts in the family. Because still, even in Austria, girls are less attracted to careers, as I mentioned before, in science, technology, engineering, because these areas are perceived to be more adequate for boys. And of course, where does this come from? It very often comes from the parents, from the family. So this has to be overcome as well. So what was introduced back in Austria, back in 2002, in order to attract more girls and women especially to these two areas, as I mentioned, in technology, in mathematics, was this so-called Girls' Day. And I know these initiatives exist also in other countries, but it is a very strong focus in Austria. What does it mean? It means that high school students, girls, so from the age of 14, 15 onwards, that they are invited to companies just to see what work in a company looks like. And this could be any, but the focus is again on these non-typical, not going so much to a hairdresser, but going to other companies in the technological field, for example. But in recent years, it was decided that starting with this initiative to attract more girls and to show them what practice really means, that starting at the age of 14, 15 is late. So there is an initiative now which is called the Mini Girls' Day, meaning doing the same thing, but already inviting girls from the age of 6. Just to go there, just to see. I mean, it's not, of course, it's according to their age, but just to get them acquainted to what it really means. So, and then they can decide, and then they get interested maybe when they see how production is going or whatever. It can be any kind of field. So I think I'll stop at this. These were just a few experiences, a few ideas, what we are doing in Austria. Not everything is unknown to you, of course, but it's maybe there might be also some ideas, at least for Bosnia and Herzegovina. And let me conclude by just saying what I said at the very beginning, that I think this festival is a perfect opportunity for networking, for presenting role models, because I think the women of Bosnia and Herzegovina deserve it. Thank you very much.